Welcome back. Now we are going to talk about the sorting arrays. We are almost finished with the session and our application, but one feature that is still missing in our application is ability to sort for movement. So let me just show you here. So see, when we count down this sort button, this needs to be done. So we'll do that in this lecture. So let's talk about sorting arrays. Now, sorting is much discussed topic in computer science, and therefore there are countless algorithms and methods of sorting values. And we might talk about this a little bit later in this course. But for now, we are simply gonna use the JavaScript built-in sort method. So let's start with an array of strings here. So let me just say here constant ones. So after writing this string, so let me just console.log owners dot sort. Okay, so when I run this, see here, when we run this here, we got our output this array here. So let me just write again console.log owners so that you get a clarity here. See here, our initial array, when I passed this, it was like this. So when we sort it, see here, it automatically changes and arranges into the alphabetical order, and also it mutates the original array. So that's why here again I written console.log owners. See here, now here our original array is this one, but it is mutated from that. Okay, and so we have to be very careful with this method. So this with the strings. So let's try with the numbers as well. Let's use our movements array here for one more time here. So this here we'll just say we are done with here strings, and now we'll just do with the numbers, and here console.log movements array. We have the above, right, the data, and then that one we are going to use, and console.log movements dot sort of. So when I run this, as you can see here, this is our original movements array, and then here see it is getting mutated here right now in this case. It arranges from negative value to positive value, but it is not in the order here. So these are not at all ordered in any way, are they? So the reason for this sort method does the sorting based on strings, right? So this method sounds weird, but this is just how it works by default. So basically what it does is to convert everything to strings, and then it does the sorting itself. So if we look at the results as if they were strings, and the results might actually make sense. So this minus and so this minus here you see will always comes first. Okay, so the first you have all the minuses here, and so that's basically alphabetically, and the first string that occurs, then afterwards then you might have the one. See here, this here it starts with 1 and 2 3 4 5 and 7 in the initial letters. Okay, there here are the alphabetical orders here. So if they were strings, so it's the same here. So then here 1 2 3 4 and then 7 here, again they were strings. So this result would make sense, but they are not strings. But we have to fix this. In fact, we can fix this by passing in a compare callback function into sort method. So let me just do that. So here I'm going to write the movements dot sort of. Here A is the current value and B is the next value in this case. So if you imagine the sort method looping over the arrays, however, in order to understand how the compare function works, so this callback function here works, and how we have to write it is, let's just think A and B as a simple being two consecutive numbers in the array. So it doesn't matter which ones. So let's simply take these here, for example, 450 and 4 minus 400. Okay, so let's just compare these two in our callback function here. And if we return less than 0, then a value a will be sorted before value b, and the opposite, if we return a positive value, then b will be placed before a in the sorted output array. Okay, so let's use that in practice to the sort movements array in the ascending order. So let me just write it here. So what we want here is B and then A. So B A, right? So therefore we need to return something that is greater than 0. Okay, because that's the rule and how the sort callback function works. So again, in this case, basically A is greater than B, which is what we have here, and we want to return something that is greater than 0. So let's write that here. So now after this, here we'll write if condition, if a greater than b, and then here we simply return 1. Okay, and if b greater than b, and then we just simply return -1. Okay, so here we have the sort method, and then here we'll just simply close it. Okay, now let me just console.log this, console.log movements here again. So right now this works perfectly fine. So here we are mutating the array, and then this point here is already the mutated version, right? So now we see that here this array is now indeed sorted in the ascending order, right? So that is because basically here the sort, okay, method keeps looking over the array and applying the callback function here until everything is in ascending order to the rule that we established here. Okay, so returning 1 here basically means to switch the order. So let's write that the here it is the, so here it is the switch order in this case, and then here it is the keep order. Okay, so maybe that makes it a bit easier to understand. So if we are coming back to one of the examples here, let's just say a and b here are 200 and 450. So in this case we want to keep the order, right? So therefore that's the case in which we return something less than 0. So that's what we have here. So coming to this here, the original example, this first one is here the greater, and the order has to be switched. So the here we have the situation A is greater than B, and if we want to do in the opposite, so sorting in a descending order, so we will simply do exactly the other way around. So let me just write this one here, descending order, and now here we'll just write, we'll just simply copy this example and then we'll just write it down here. So we'll just remove this. So here it is going to be the -1, and then here it is going to return the +1. So rest all everything is same. So that's it. Again we need to console.log here once again. So when we run this, see here now it is perfectly aligned in the descending order, and also we could write this in a different way as well. So let me just show you how we write that. So for now, in this case, ascending order, let me just turn this here off, and then here let me just write movements dot sort of a comma b. So in this arrow function here, it is going to be the a minus b. Okay, so here one more parenthesis bracket, and then here it is closing. Okay, and then here we'll just simply console.log movements, and similarly for descending order as well, we'll just, so here we'll just simply turn this off, and then let me copy this and then paste it here. So here we'll just simply write the other way around, which is the b minus a in this case. So when we run this, as you can see here, we got the same result. So we can write in the both the formats here. So this way or this way, which is easier for you, you can write in that way as well. So what we can do is take this and improve this dramatically like this here in this case. So after writing this ascending order, so we just written by simplifying this here in this pattern as well, right? So this is the difference between the ascending and descending. So we can just simplify this and can be written like this. Okay. Now, if we have a mixed array like with the strings and numbers together, then it is not going to work. And I advise you to simply not to use the sort method in these cases anyway. That's because that's not really a point in doing it so. But anyway, now that you know that how the sort method works, so let's just get back to our application and implement it there. So let's see first in our demo version. So in our demo version, let me just show you here JS. So here when we click here the sort, as you can see here, the values were arranged accordingly. This is how we want our sort button to work. So let me just do that in our application above. Now let's get back to our application now. So we'll do that in our application. So here we'll do that here in the display movements here. So in our function here, we require the second one, which is here the sort. So here initially we need here the sort to be false. So that's how then our demo version, when we add some deposits or withdrawals, so it is going to be in the format. So if we set here this to true, it will be in the ascending order. So that's why initially we are setting here in the false. So let me just here create a constant. So I'll call this moves, so which is nothing but the movements here. I'm just calling. So using the sort function here. So here movements dot slice of, and then here we are going to use the sort. Okay. Okay, now here we simply take a copy of the movements array and sort that. So that's what we use now the slice for. So this is the one of the situation that I was telling you about earlier, where we need to actually create a copy using the slice method, not the spread operator, because here in the middle of the chain, so we want to keep going after this. So it's a lot better to simply use this method here so that we can simply chain the sort method onto that. Okay. So here let me just write comma b here. Okay. And then here we'll just set this to a minus b. And now all we need to do here is our compare function. And now remember how in the interface in our application the movements appear in a descending order. However, that is because we start to display the values from the bottom up. So actually we want to now sort this array in an ascending order. To do that, here we did, which was a minus b here. So as I explained before why it works this way. Okay, but now if the sort is false, so the default so that's the default value, then most should simply become the movements, right? Movements dot for each. With this here we have essentially adapted, and then we don't want that right now, so we want to here set this to mouse. So this one here, mouse dot for each. So our display movements functional to support the sorting. Okay, so let me just run it now. And again here we did that by allowing the second parameter, which is the optional parameter called sort. And then if the sort is set to true, then the movement that we are going to use to display them will be sorted like this. And if it is set to false, then simply the regular movements they are passed in here will be displayed. And now all we need to do here is the call this function with the sort set to true whenever the user clicks the sort button. So the button is here is called the button sort. As you can see here, already I have labeled here button sort. Okay, so let's now create our final event listener or event handler here. And down here I'm going to write that button function. So here this button sort dot add event listener, and then here the click, and then function of event handler, and then here e dot prevent default of. Okay, and then here we'll just say display movements of the current account dot movements. So here we are setting this to true. So in this case, so then only we can just, so when we run this here. So right now, let me just log in here now, JS. When I run the login, see here when I click the sort, so this works perfectly fine. Now it is sorted here, but here we have one more thing to implement. So it is not done yet. Now this works for the sorting, but it won't go back. So when we do the clicking here, so it doesn't go back to the original. So let's now solve this by the state variable, which will monitor if we are currently sorting this array or not. So that the variable needs to live outside the callback function, so that here it can be prevented after clicking the button. Because as you know, the function here is executed each time that we click the sort button. So if we defined a variable here in this function, then it would create a newly each time that we click. So we want to preserve the sort state throughout all the clicks. So we start with this variable set to false. So outside this button here, let me just say let sorted here, let me just set to false. And so that's because in the beginning our array is not sorted. So sorted is false at our beginning, as you can see here we declared above. So here we set here this to false, as you can see here. And so that's because in the beginning our array is not sorted. So it is so the sorted here is the false. So if it is false, then here it should be true. And so we want actually sort the array. So basically we want the opposite of sorted, right? So here we are doing the opposite of sorted. So when sorted is false, then we want to sort it, and so we need the true here. So if it is already sorted, then again we want the opposite. So that sort should be back to false. Now the only thing that's missing is that actually flip this variable. Okay, so for that we do the sorted equals to opposite of the sorted. So once again, so let me just write that here. So here it should be the sorted, and then here we are setting here sorted not equals to sorted. Okay, here it should be sorted is not equals to sorted, right? So this condition. Okay, so when I save this, and then let's just check for one final time. So when I run this here, see sorted, and when I again click that here, see it is just going back here. So here it is simply just setting our default value we have set here to the false, right? Sort. So that is just toggling here between the false to true, true to false, so and forth. Okay, and yes, this works beautifully, and in fact this application is now complete, at least for this session. So there is one or two array methods to learn, so let's do that in the next video.